Okay, so we're looking, and then the ones that haven't, you're going to University of Scouting next weekend and do some training there? Yes? And then other commissioners, anybody who's been doing this for over 10 years? Okay, good, good. All right. So what we're looking at is learning about the JTE. We will not be covering that here because you're going to learn that in those other sessions. And really what we're talking about is not so much the JTE, but the relationship between the committee chair and you, and how to work with those relationships, how to foster that, how to bring the JTE 2.0 to the committees, and explain it and encourage them and implement, how to implement the whole program so that they have a better program for the kids. The focus today is really with Cub Scouts. And everything that we're going to talk about will still apply to working with the venture crew or working with the Boy Scout troop, because the relationship, the idea of the relationship is not going to change because of the age of the kids that you're dealing with, or that the units are dealing with. So what we're going to do is have, again, sorry, if you want to get your handout out and just look at that, and that, all we're going to do with that is just use that as a refresher. If anyone doesn't have one, could you raise your hand? I think everybody has it. This is a good refresher, just to have with you. This is what we're supposed to be doing, and it simplifies it a lot, I think. Rather than thinking, oh, I have to do this and this and this and this, really this is what you're doing, is to be a friend of the unit. Be the resource person. Help them with issues that they have coming up. Be the question and answer person, so that they can have someone that they trust, and that helps with the relationship that you're trying to build. So this is the good refresher to just take with you. That's my handout, that's my slide. So that's all we're doing with that. So we're going to start with our first scenario. And what you're going to do is in your groups, talk about how you're going to bring this to your unit. What is your relationship with your unit? What kind, are you experienced commissioner working with a new Cub Scout committee chair? So they don't really understand anything about scouting. And now they volunteer to be a committee chair. So it's up to you to help explain some of the information, some of the resources that are available to them, and build that relationship that way. Or it could be you're a new commissioner and you're meeting with somebody who's a Cub Scout leader, and they have been around for a while. And they may be a little bit more resistant to learning some things. They have, the Scout Net, not so much in the Cub Scout, but as Brian said, it's the pencil and the paper. So don't worry about the training records, or using that, or how come it didn't download, or how come we don't have accurate records. It's if you're meeting with these folks and you're asking questions and you have a relationship with them, then that's where you're getting your information. And that will be more accurate than anything that you're going to get at the council on ScoutNet. So depend on that information that you're gathering, not the information that necessarily is coming from ScoutNet. So the first, that's basically the first scenario is what your specific relationship is. What are your units and where are you? Are you the experienced dealing with the new, or what exactly is the dynamics of the relationship that you have with your units? And so what we're going to do is talk about some of that in your groups, and then we're going to write down some ideas of how you can best bring this information to your unit, to the committee chair, work with them, and what are some ideas. There's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of information that you all have to share with each other, and that's, I think, a better way of doing it rather than me telling you what I think that would work best for you, because you know what's worked for you, and you know how you created these different relationships, and each unit is different, and you're all different dealing with them. So if you want to go ahead and do that, we have about 5 minutes, and we'll start working with that. And then just within at your tables, or if you're at a chair back there, if you want to join one of the other tables up here too, that would be great. So you have about 5 minutes.
Sandy's in charge. She pitched the easel, so therefore she's in charge. No stuttering.
Hello. didn't know what they said.
What's that? Talk about it. With the chair.
In prayer, yeah.
Talk about it.
I'm not clear on what.
What was the question?
What's your relationship with the commission? So who are you for? You're the district administrator.
This is a commissioner, we don't have any.
I know that my church has got a new committee chair. Although, the former committee chair has
Well, and also no
helped
boundaries.
with
You don't have
and
street boundaries, you're the
shadow,
council, so.
being
Yeah,
shadow.
that's a minor thing.
The new committee chair, so it's kind of what we have to hand. So,
Having the volunteers, we have
few
volunteers coming out.
committee meetings, I'll be there.
Maybe the guys who are co-mastering,
Talk with
everyone's got.
again, kind of set to look at, start looking at the JP, because, we're already in April, so we really need to start looking at the deadlines and start looking at things. And then also with the committees, the committees, the big committee, or you have, if you're talking about budget or an annual plan, I'm no longer looking at, all those things as committees, so make sure the dates, all the dates are set right, annual plan, school calendar, and things like that. So some of the coordinating, not only with the committee chair, but also with the committee chair. Neither one of them are in line with another, especially when you have a new Yeah, I work with the committee. I don't say work with the committee chair. As a resource and your friend.
But I'm a committee chair.
I work a lot together.
I just decided to give it.
You just say get it.
It's a habit after a while. We've got the whole functioning units, ones that are basically on like support.
Did you commission a use?
But you have
I gotta find
one
out if volunteer.
situation of having a unit commissioner for everybody. Chief
I've got 3 units go. I get 3 units.
In the familiar.
We have them fully staffed, and fully trained. And ironically, I guess that question meeting on Thursday, we went through commissioner roles with receiving
Two charter treasurers. Luckily, they both have one public. They both have a decent number of volunteers, whether it be official committee members or just somebody or something else. So they're doing yes and no. Well, so one of them does very well. They kind of fall in line and they at least attend round table and they listen to me. The other group, I show up and it's like, okay, we're doing you a favor, but then I sit here and you can talk all you want, but nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change once the meeting. So, and that one, I said, what do you have your committee meetings? I've been asking the same question for years. When's your next committee meeting? Well, we don't sometimes do that. We get parents together twice a year. Well, I'm acting urgent. Maybe your treasurer, well, I have a treasurer. And it helps the debt leaders figure out the program while I can do that. I was due to retire here. But as I say, they've got a new program. They've got 75 kids. The kids are having a great time. They're highest selling popcorn. They're one of the council highest selling popcorn groups that have been for the past however long we've been starting. So, yeah, on paper it looks great, but in actuality,
But you're smart enough.
And it does take a while.
well, and when I stepped down as district commissioner, I tried to run it as a district commissioner, because there's been a long history of being a commissioner. Run away. I don't have much hair left to pull out, and the nice thing is membership is growing. Whether or not they'll be changed, that's what I don't know. Yeah, because I get there, What's their annual plan? They have it, they know it, they've never shared it with me. I said, really, could you just, on a whole list of emails, could you, I mean, I'm not asking you to separate gold mine, anyway.
Depends where you're at.
Where's your ticket back?
Thank you. Lots of discussion. What I'm wondering is, I would like to write a lot of these down, or if someone wants to write them down, but to get some of this on paper. What are some of the challenges? Because I'm hearing of different challenges. Go ahead, sir.
One challenge would be you don't have an operating committee inside the CUPPAC, because really I think the commissioner should be working with the committee chair, and by extension be working with these committee members.
So when you are working with the committee chair and you're working with JTE and explaining it to them, are you going to explain it only to the committee chair and have them disseminate the information? Or would one other way to do it would be maybe explain it to the committee chair, talk through that, and then you would also go to the committee meeting to answer questions? Is that what you're talking?
Well, in some places, I guess I'd be happy to see they had a functioning committee
Right.
to talk to. And then when what was going on, I guess what I would do is I'd hike in there and say, let's talk about how you organize your committee. Let's make sure these positions and your cub master are in place. Now you got a shell to work with. Those are who you want to immediately partner up with to take the basic training material along and say, we're going to run through this briefly. This is how a committee is supposed to run. This is what the jobs are supposed to be. And get that overhead aligned.
Right.
Get a better chance of the tax
Being able to fill things in, right. Other challenges?
You have two strong personalities, but they want the unit to go in different directions.
The strong personalities, you're thinking of the people under the PAC committee?
Well, or even the other leaders, that then they want to go one way and the other half wants to go another way.
We're just playing leaders that don't get along.
So how do you overcome that?
Well, in our case, the troops split.
Oh, okay, well, that's one way, okay. Okay,
We had speakers come in and try to solve the problem. And
conflict
we
resolution
hired
kinds of things, yeah.
speakers to come in and try to solve the problem unsolvable.
And sometimes that's just the way it is, that they're not going to change. And so, yeah.
What type of relationship are you building with the unit leaders, like the scout man? You're emphasizing on cub masters, but you're not. It doesn't sound like there's much thing about bringing this to a cub master or a scout master. In a lot of cases, it's the cub master or the scout master that's holding the unit together, and there is no committee chair, effective community chair to even talk to. So
Right, and that's true. I know of when I was a district commissioner, when I was a unit commissioner, and I would be looking for charters, and I would call the committee chair who was listed as the committee chair, and they'd say, oh no, so-and-so's doing that, and so-and-so's doing this. I guess the emphasis, it should be the committee chair who's doing this and implementing and setting those boundaries and educating. However, whoever it is who's doing that stuff in whatever the committee is, whether it's the Cub Scout pack or the troop or the crew, that's what we're creating the relationship with. You know, if there isn't a functioning committee chair to do that information, somebody in that unit has to be getting the information.
But you've got to have a functioning relationship with the unit, with the Cub Master, the Scout Master, the Venture Crew Chair, and nothing's being brought up in this situation about doing that.
And that's the emphasis you'll hear all day long. That's what you'll hear, is the commissioner and the committee chair.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Having lived this stuff,
Right.
it's going.
That's a really good.
I wish you
that's a really
well.
good point, Dave. But you know, I think according to the book, it's the committee chair that is in charge of the operation.
I've seen
You know
a lot
what
of
I'm
books over a lot of years, but
Well, really what it comes down to is when you develop a relationship with the pack or the troop or whatever, there's going to be a leader of influence. And a leader of influence is, I think, the person really got to work with.
you got to at least start with that,
Yeah.
and then say, this is how we would like to do it, that I work
Right.
with your committee chair. But if you don't get in there with that leader of influence and keep
Right.
them in the loop, you're going to have difficulty going further
Right.
toward this is a utopian thing. I mean,
And for the purposes of this, of what we're trying to do today, because the committee chair is the one who is charged with that, that's why we're using that. But the example is, if you're talking with this troop, the Scout Master, if you have a better relationship with the Cub Master, and they're the ones who are really doing all of these things, that's fine. Whoever is in that unit that you can have this good relationship with.
Okay,
But
no.
for the purpose of what we're talking about, rather than saying Scout Master, Cub Master, Committee Chair, we're just doing it Committee Chair, just for the discussion.
Yeah, we had, for the last 4 years, we never even had a PAC meeting. I mean, I was Hub Master, we ran everything. Because our unit organization never came to any of our functions. We even had to pay their $40 charter fee. You know, they never paid, so we got a new charter representative. And looks like everything's turning out pretty good now.
So you're able to overcome that challenge with just figuring out a different
Yeah, we
way?
had to get a new sponsoring unit, and once the chairman, when he got on board, yeah, he's fully trained now, you know, he's really into it. But before that, yeah, we did all of our own planning, all of our own budget. The committee had nothing to do with it because they wouldn't show up.
I think another challenge is the turnover within the pack of the leadership, in that quite often the weebos are the adults running the show, and they'll do it for 2 years. And so every 2 years you have new people come in, so there isn't a continuity of information or education. Whereas troops, often they stay a little longer in leadership.
So is that something as a commissioner to point out to them when they have new leaders coming in, or when they're looking at some of the leaders who in a couple of years are going to be transitioning, to encourage them to start looking for someone to replace these people? And working with the committee chair to do that?
And get your units in there, get your Boy Scout troop. It's important that you get that relationship with that Boy Scout troop and you convey how important that Cub Scout pack is to their future. And so that you try to get some sort of relationship between the troop and the pack so that you're getting the two groups to work together. And like you said, at least you get supplemental leadership for the troops coming in and helping the pack get through their goals too.
Yeah.
I think a succession plan is a huge thing at the pack level. And I think, you know, there's an awful lot of stuff that has to be done, and if you're a committee chair, sometimes it's just easier to do a lot of that stuff yourself rather than try to run a team of volunteers where volunteers aren't always that reliable. But when you do it yourself, it's hard to have a succession plan. You know, and I think that's one of the motivating factors if you're working with somebody that wants to do it all themselves, is how do you set up a succession plan.
Right. And David's right. If you have the Boy Scout troop, assuming that there is a Cub Scout and then a Boy Scout troop they're going to go into, the challenge with that is when you have a Cub Scout troop and then there's 4 different troops that they could be, you know, there isn't that succession plan that way. But to have a Boy Scout, regardless of where they're from, and so that the boys can see and the parents can see, this is what can happen. This is where they can go from here. And they're more interested in trying to make sure that all progresses that way. yeah. Jim?
You and I have talked about this before, but I think the biggest challenge we have is educating the parents so that they understand what the scouting program is about. Because I think once you have the parents understanding what the program does for their kids and for their family, it's much easier to find the unit leaders and the people that are passionate about the program.
About the value of the program and why they should stay in it and be in it and participate in it. Yeah. Any other challenges?
You do get that after the 4 years, they said, well, I'm done with anything with scouting, I served my time and I don't want to be involved with the Boy Scout or adventure, troop adventure. So that's another issue there too. But I mean, I don't know if other people are seeing it, but parental involvement is an all-time low as far as I can see. And if the parents aren't involved, then the kids aren't going to really carry the fervor necessary to be involved. They've got a chance to be with their kids for a certain amount of time, and most of them are just passing it up and letting those Boy Scout leaders take care of it for them.
He's right, but he hit it right on the head. Because if you can get down to the parents early and explain to them that maybe later in life your son will need a program like this, you got to look beyond the whole Cub Scouting thing. So what are you going to do when this kid's a teenager and may not want to talk to you?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's right. If you can explain to these people early on what the value and the benefits of this program is and get them to buy it.
Well, and part of it too with this is my little tiny piece of the JTE, but if you have your program plan and you're communicating that program plan and the parents are seeing that there's something in place, there's some thought that's gone into this, and we really are planning on doing this, then they start to see some of the value, I think, of what their kids are going to be involved in. Okay, 6 months from now we're going to do this. And it's right there, and it's on a calendar, and they know that's going to happen. Gary?
Relating to the volunteer succession and recruiting volunteers, generally in the public there's a very low understanding of what the scouting program is. As parents, white parents, don't have a general understanding of it, and particularly in communities of color, there's zero understanding of what the scouting program is all about. So overall, I think we just lack general public recognition of what it is we do and why we do it. And that all plays into the vacancies and volunteer positions all across the different districts.
And that's something I want to jump onto is having developed with international communities and non-traditional. They're seeing sports figures, they're seeing these icons out there. So they want to do sports, they want to do soccer, they want to do baseball, football, basketball. They are not seeing Eagle Scouts. They're not understanding what it means to be an Eagle Scout, what the benefits are, what the teamwork, what the friendships you build, the lifelong skills. They don't see it. And I've had conversations with a lot of my Cubs when I was coming up. They could care less. But if they saw a Viking was in town, they'd go all over. The parents too. I mean, it's that communication. It's that as parents, we can speak with. We're so busy that Monday starts at 5 o'clock, Monday doesn't end until midnight. So you look at it, you're like, okay, I gotta take my kids where?
Right. But there is a Scout Reach, Scout Reach program.
But you've got to communicate that.
Right.
You know, I spent many hours working with new kids with Lion Parents, Tiger Cubs, and they're going, what do we do?
And at the end of our discussion today, that is one of the questions I was going to ask is what can the council do to help? And that's one that I'll put on that list. So, Jim?
Council understands all this, and that's why there's this big push for the fall youth recruitment, which is not called that anymore, but we're going to get educated about that, and it's extremely important for us commissioners to understand it and to also train and educate the leaders of those units. So this fall is going to be a big deal, and council's behind it 100%. Marketing's going to be like we haven't seen before. Let's
There's
hope
going to be
it
a lot of media coverage about it because September 18th, basically everybody, that's the night you sign up for scouting. And so there will be more information, but it will be all over, TV and billboards, newspaper. I understand what you're saying, yeah.
By September, it's too late.
Right.
Kids are already in fall ball, they're signing up for soccer.
Well, and that's why if there's open houses and, from schools, right.
Moms and dads are planning now.
Right.
So all of us should be telling our unit leaders to get in and get trained next weekend at University of Scouting for fall youth recruitment.
Right. I understand your point.
I'd like to echo what Gary was saying.
the value?
What is it, what's in it for them? And, you know, you kind of think of Cub Scouts, I think of Pine Woods, that's kind of dead. You think of Boy Scouts, you think of Scouts. But when you got a kindergarten there, you're not thinking of being a scout necessarily.
Right.
16, 17, 18 years old. I mean, it's all part of the process. But what's in it for them? What's in it for that kid? Obviously, you know, see a Viking from the town, take, you know, a whole district full of kids, and say, oh, well, here is, Adrian Peterson's coming down here, how about Adrian Peterson? Chances are, none of them are gonna be a professional football player.
Right.
None of them are gonna, it's not gonna really teach them anything, they're not gonna gain anything out of that, for football. They're gonna gain so much more on the scout.
Right.
Like what you were saying, that practical tools that you're gonna develop over 10 years. Those are the kind of things that, teach them.
Maggie, I think that the big issue with especially drafting Cub Scouts, and that's not Cub Scouts, it's Cub Scout parents.
Right.
Because the Cub Scouts don't sign up, their parents sign up.
Right.
And the biggest issue that I know I have, and I know we've talked about it at our district before, our committee meetings, our commission meetings, biggest issue is how do we address those parents? And, you know, I'm looking around this room going, all right, how many of you have a Cub Scout? Anybody? I know I don't. My youngest is 20. You know, I don't know how to talk to these parents. I know how to talk to you guys. I don't know how to talk to these parents and get them to understand that this is the best program that they can put their kids in for life. And that's what we have to figure out. As a council, that's what we need to figure out.
You know, the first thing is to get them into the program, then the rest of the stuff takes place. They're not in the program. You know, a relationship with a committee chair and being a commissioner is all that important. Once they're in the program, then that's stuff.
How do you keep them? Yeah.
Then it starts
Yeah.
becoming material.
Yeah.
I also think that we're in an age here where people become, you know, much more skeptical here, and so that's what you're saying here, and that's the way it's been done here for years and years and years here. But I think we need to change that too here, which is why we need to communicate the message before getting them into the program. Okay.
The value of scouting. And why it's worth the kids, what are they going to learn, and what are the parents gaining by giving up time to do something and become involved? Is that kind of the short piece of that?
The thing that I've kind of seen over the last couple of years here is the unit leaders who are working hard here, keep the program afloat here. Oftentimes they're focused on the awards and the advancements. And again, nothing wrong with that here, but sometimes what gets lost is the fun. Okay, here I think that's a big casualty here.
Right.
Where's the fun? Okay, how do we? Focus on advancement, but make sure we have we don't lose the fun. Okay, we redevelop here. What's fun about scouting here, and make sure that's a significant component here.
And keep the outing and scouting.
The outing and scouting. Right.
One last one.
I have a mom who just had a boy. My son graduated over to Boy Scouts just this past February. He's already made it up to star. And I'm an outgoing Cub Master 4 years. I just retired in February. But my son, when I'm involved, or if I go back to the pack to help out my new Cub Master, my son Alex will come with. And my son is not all decorated, but I mean, he went to Brown Sea, he's got all of the tomahawk stuff on his shirt. He gets a lot of boys coming up and asking him, oh, how can I get that? How can I get that? Oh, that is so cool. And Alex will show him, you know, the patches and just the experience of going to camp and all the stuff that they get to do. I think by having the troop interact, or at least send a couple boys up, the ones that we partner with the pack, and have them wear all their regalia. It's amazing what the younger scouts will come up and go, oh, how did you get that? Or really, did you see a buffalo? You know, stuff like that that you do at camp really grabs the younger scouts and says, oh, Mom, I want to get that.
Right, and that goes back to what David was saying of having a Boy Scout, you know, coming and working with. Yeah, absolutely. No, I absolutely agree with that. Okay.
Just going back to how do you reach parents? I'm not sure if it's moms or dads who sign youth up for Cub Scouts, but where do the moms meet, or the dads? What are the organizations that kindergarten and first grade parents belong to? And are we accessing them? Is it the PTO or the PTA? Because it's school-based kinds of places, and how are we interacting with them? I don't know that we are at all.
The challenge for some of it is actually getting into the schools, and some schools just don't let us in.
Right, but
The
PTA
workaround,
is not a
the
school.
workaround, right, but the workaround with it is if the school has, like in August, they'll have their open house.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
And again, that's only one, that's not all of the
Right,
parents that have
right.
similar interests.
Right.
Is it your golf club? Is it your, some kind of other recreational thing that lots of younger parents go to? I think we need to throw a broader net.
So if we're, my question is, what can the council do? Or what can we do as a council or the teams to help? Publicize.
Publicize, get out in front of kids, get the events going. And you're right, mom and dad's signing up, but if you don't book that tiger or that lion after that first year, you get to decide mom and dad to sign over, don't want to sign up. What I've seen in my experience with the chair is that, yeah, great, I can convince the mom or the dad, I can't keep the kid into the pack.
Right.
It doesn't matter. So I gotta keep that tiger cub all the way through, and now the week goes. It is, once, like you said, it's once they're in, it's the program. But I need that hook.
To get them in there in the first place, right?
Here's an example for publicize. I've got 2 towns that we combined in, well, actually 3, but 2 school districts. The one school district, 250 kids approximately in each one. One school wouldn't let us do a school talk, we got 2 kids. The other one, we could do a school talk, we got 33 kids.
And so we have to figure out how to work around that. When you can't get into the schools, what else can you do? Sunday schools, you know, Sunday schools, if they're able to let kids come in or parents come in and talk about that during their Sunday school program.
Back to the, how do we get the parents to sign the kids up? Show them a list of expectations. This is what we expect the boys to do. How many meetings are you going to be required to have the boy there? Is it once a month? Is it twice a month? You know, tell the parents exactly what they want to hear so they can mentally go, oh, well, that's not too bad. Maybe I can commit to that.
Right, right. Somebody here?
Scouting is one of the few youth-serving organizations in the country that does not advertise for volunteers outside of its immediate family of parents signing up. Boys and Girls Club, Big Brother, Big Sister, Girl Scouts, all run national ad campaigns and local ad campaigns, recruiting new volunteers to work with their particular groups. In rural areas, 4-H and other kinds of organizations advertise and actively solicit volunteers outside their immediate program. We don't do that. That's an issue. I think all demographic areas.
Yeah. Scott?
One of the things we talked about in the pack that I'm associated with is to run our Pinewood Derby track at the Spring Festival. And Spring Festival is run by the PTO on a Saturday, it's a fundraiser. Last weekend, they set up the Pinewood Derby. They were kind of out of the way, but they still were one of the more popular events. And they buy the tickets, and they give the tickets to run a race. It turned out to be one of the better fundraisers
Oh, good.
for the weekend. It was great exposure, a lot of kids around. So,
Good idea.
Getting back to the question, what can the council do?
Yeah.
This is more of a question, but we've all probably seen the advertisement the Girl Scouts are putting out heavily this year on TV. That's kind of a new thing. They're talking, they're cookies, but they're also
so.
Did that communicate something that we similarly would want to have? Does that make sense?
Because I was impressed, wow, they're really selling that, they are developing business skills for girls. That is amazing. So do we advertise what skills we're developing for boys?
So what about if you were, instead of doing a fall campaign, you were a spring campaign? Does that address more of what you're talking about, that by the time fall comes, we're already too late?
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. We're losing the, if you don't do it in the fall, you're losing all the new kids that are just coming in that year.
Or maybe you have both. You know, because we do a spring recruitment anyway.
But recruitment is supposed to be year round.
Right.
So-
Right. But there's the spring recruitment, and they've done in the past too, is you know, get the kids signed up and then get them to some kind of a day camp so that they can see things going on. Sir?
All right, so we have one of the most recognizable public speakers in America, who's a distinguished Eagle Scout called Mike Rowe. Almost everybody's seen Dirty Jobs at one time or another.
Yeah.
If our council could talk to National and get National to put together a series of Mike Rowe ads for scouting and run those suckers, I think you'll get eyeballs.
Have you seen his recognition on YouTube, Mike Rowe with the Boy Scouts?
It's very good.
He
Yeah.
is terrific. We need to harness that guy.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
He does promote it a lot
Yeah,
on
on
his Facebook
YouTube,
page
just
too.
go Mike Rowe,
But I mean,
Boy Scouts.
The national, yeah, no, I'm.
More than, people don't know about YouTubes and Facebooks unless they are looking for it.
Yeah.
We need to get this guy in front of people in places they're not expecting, like
That's
on
a great one.
the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note, we need to, sorry, really quickly,
How about-
because they're going to be dismissed.
Does anybody, I mean, could we get a list of Vikings players who are Eagle Scouts and other sports guys and do the same thing with the
Yeah. Several years ago, there was a campaign, and if the boy signed up, he got a patch, and it was just part of it.
Scotty made a difference in our lives. We can do that. Where are we going?
He was in our first uniform.
Yes.
Maggie, where are we going?
Where are we going next?
You were going right next door.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Twice as big.
Good idea, Bob.
I just need a big number.
Well, you know who had the national chair of the British Boy Scouts? Bear Wilson.
Really?
The Man versus Wild Guy. They tapped him because too many of the kids
Association.
to scouting because he didn't
I said
think
that.
it was scout.
That was me.
So they get
Over here.
Bear Grylls to be there. He did a thing on survival in the wilderness, Man versus Wild. He's a British, former British Special Forces guy. Never heard of him. Yeah, he was on TV for years.
So my husband,
Mike Rowe?
Yeah.
Oh,
You know what, I'm gonna plan.
you've never seen the show Dirty Jobs?
and Mike Rowe wound up being the
He's the host
Oh,
on
yeah,
that show
okay.
Dirty
And,
Jobs.
so afterwards he had the
I know
opportunity
that
to
show, I'm aware of this show.
meet him.
He's the one that was saying he struggles with
And,
the scout law, you know, a scout
and
instructor.
somebody introduced him,
The show was
I
called
got it.
Dirty Jobs.
they introduced
Sometimes
the guy that
get
was
dirty.
doing the introductions, introduced my husband. Hey, this is Dan Mensch. He's a scoutmaster. Mike Rowe's comment was, no, that's a dirty job.
That's about right.
In 1974, we had 4 million Boy Scouts and leaders. 2009, we had less than 2 million.
Yeah.
Population has grown by 100 million.
Stand in here.
I guess we get to meet him. It's on the 16th. So you didn't get one either? I actually saw it on, oh yeah, we're having it.
Actually, the thing about the Girl Scouts of America, they actually have the worst nutrition rates in history.
So these are ones that,
Girl Scout, the boys, Cub Scout,
what's in
and
yellow?
Boy Scout.
Okay, that's what we're doing. Thanks, Dana. You take care.
Want to get a party?
back.
Push this. There's a plug at the back.
Come on in.
What? Way back there.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's really